Final Fantasy fans would wait with bated breath until the 8th entry would drop on PlayStation 1 in 1999. After the maverick success of Final Fantasy VII would break barriers for Japanese localization, Square began development of the next installment during 1997 for a closer worldwide release. Despite becoming the fastest-selling Final Fantasy for the time, it split players down the middle, receiving acclaim from critics and fans at launch, yet becoming a target of criticism as the years would pass. It has been named both the best and worst of the series depending on who you ask, whether appreciating its unique traits or struggling to judge it without comparing it to its colossal predecessors. But, on its own terms, it's a great JRPG. Part of why lifelong fans may turn their nose up at Final Fantasy VIII is how much it tears up the rulebook, as traits which came to define Final Fantasy have been abandoned. For starters, the world map is less Middle-earth fantasy and more European sci-fi, as while previous games did incorporate more futuristic tech and motifs, this one commits fully to the aesthetic. Students of the Balaam Garden, including Squall, study to become members of a mercenary force called Seed, with the Balaam Garden unravelling a labyrinth of technology. And while it is jarring at first, it gives this JRPG a distinct, well-developed world which is enchanting to explore. Particularly once you acquire an airship, the world has tons of gorgeous locales to discover, from the seaside-like Balaam town to the desolate and haunting Great Salt Lake. It's arguably one of the best overworlds in the series' history. Square have always made deep tweaks to the turn-based formula, but their 8th go-around would mark some dramatic shifts. Magic has seen the biggest overhaul, as it is no longer a secondary element, but a pivotal part of growing your party. Magic can be stolen from enemies, instead of being recharged by a meter, and via the junction system can then be assigned to a character's stats to buff them. For example, junctioning an offensive magic, such as Firaga, will often improve attack stats, while healing magic will improve HP. This turns combat into not only a chance to level up your party, but also draw more potent magic in order to increase stats. In a way, it's in-depth, but also a touch on the convoluted side. You can reduce downtime by auto-assigning magic to stats which improve attack, magic, or defense. But often, different monsters and bosses will favour magic types, which forces constant tweaking. This can drag the pacing down a touch, as while the materia system would often force long periods of scrolling in the menu, it feels like the convoluted junction system leads to a lot of downtime. It can also clash with the traditional levelling system, as while levelling is somewhat important, it can cause imbalance, as weak magic junctions often have a disastrous result, despite improving your base level. Equally, there's lots of little exploits to break the system entirely, swinging the game wildly between easy and difficult. But the flaws of the junction system can be overlooked when you uncover the sheer depth of this JRPG. Weapons can be upgraded by collecting magazines and then crafting them, entire side quests give fruitful rewards, and Guardian Forces, this game's version of summons, are worth hunting down. Then there's Triple Triad, a seemingly throwaway card game that unveils incredible depth. Taking place on a 3x3 grid, your aim is to capture your opponent's cards by placing higher rank cards around the opposing cards. With variable rules depending on who you challenge, hundreds of cards to collect, and even combat rewards with resources earned from breaking down cards, Triple Triad is one of the most substantial minigames in any title. The only other sore points come from the story. Squall's brand of teenaged angst can be relatable to some, but more often than not, he comes off as a whiny prick. Rinoa, the forced love interest of Squall, lacks any semblance of personality. The oddly structured love story also feels cheap and tacked on. But that's not to say the whole cast is a misfire. Zell and Selphie make for a charming duo of bumbling goofs. Quistis is a charismatic tutor to the party, and eventual addition Irvin makes for a somewhat out of place, yet likeable, gunslinger. There's also a subplot involving reliving the memories of Laguna and his crew of soldiers, which arguably makes for a better story than the core plot. But alas, it isn't a huge part of the game. One element Square rarely faltered on with its JRPGs is the graphics, and 8 may be the best looking PS1 game out there. Unlike 7's more deformed models, characters benefit from a far more human-like appearance, with individual fingers, trinkets of clothing, and improved animations. The gorgeous CG sequences return too, actually sometimes combining both gameplay characters with the CG motion for a stunning look. The pre-rendered backgrounds are gorgeous, as the fixed perspective captures the beauty of each scene perfectly. Battles look great too, with stunning monster designs and screen-filling Guardian Force summons that push the PS1 to the limit. The sound is good too, as while there aren't a great deal of memorable tracks contained within the soundtrack, many do manage to fit the tone and setting very well, along with more traditional sound effects. In the end, Final Fantasy VIII lives up to the legacy of its franchise, despite some missteps. It's true that the junction system is far from flawless, and the roster of characters can vary from bland to downright unlikable. But with cutting-edge graphics, an outstanding world to explore, and close to hundreds of hours worth of content, Square's penchant for creating deep, absorbing JRPGs was in full force here. Fans of this series and genre alike would do well to revisit this one, as while perhaps not as good as 4, 6, or 7 in the grand scheme of things, it's a damn good JRPG.